What is up, adventurers? Adventuring with Chris here, and today I have got a special guest for you guys. Let's go adventuring. All right, I've got AJ Lacassio with us, and AJ is a voiceover actor, and he is the voice of a certain Cajun by the name of Remy LeBeau on X-Men 97, which can be streamed on Disney Plus. AJ, thanks for letting me talk to you today, man.
Yeah, of course. I've been following your stuff for a while. I enjoy your content, and I'm a big Rocketeer nut, so I've enjoyed your adventures.
Oh yeah, man, he's right over my shoulder here. I don't know if you can see him. You can probably
I
just make
can,
out
yeah.
his silhouette. I heard that. Let's just get into it. I heard that when the audition for X-Men 97 came around, you broke the golden rule of voice acting and only auditioned for one single role, being Gambit. What gave you the certainty to put all of your proverbial cards, if you don't mind the pun, on the
No,
table for Remy LeBeau?
it wasn't certainty. It was stupidity. It was. He's my favorite X-Man, X-person. So like, I love X-Men. I would love to be a part of X-Men in any capacity, but I knew in my heart I was like, if I'm not Gambit, I don't want to be any other X-Man. So that was kind of my general. That was what my thinking was. Is I was like, would you be happy being Cyclops or Wolverine or any of these guys? Also, I can't really do those voices the way. I mean, you hear the guys that they cast; they're phenomenal. And I was like, Gambit's been my favorite since I was a kid. I've been collecting Gambit stuff since childhood, so I was like, just that's my guy. I'm going to put 1,000% into that. And so, from the duration of getting the audition to the callbacks, it was all I was doing is working on the accent and making sure I got as close to Chris Potter and learning as much Cajun dialect as I could, just sort of cramming for this test. So yeah, it was very stupid. And when my agent, I don't think my agent realized, but when the first time he heard me tell that story, he was like, "Don't ever do that again." And I was like,
Yes, totally. And speaking of Chris Potter, if you don't know, guys, he is the original voice of the '90s Gambit, and I think he's Cable now. Is that correct?
yes, yeah.
Perfect. So you mentioned dialect. Gambit has probably got one of the most distinct, heavily scrutinized dialect in animation history, and he's always speaking in the third person, um, as he does. What kind of linguistic research or vocal scouting did you have to like work on to get your version of that classic Cajun charm of Gambit's voice?
Um, I mean, I did the best I can. I know there's definitely discrepancies between what I'm doing and an authentic Cajun accent, and that was something we discussed early on. Is like within the first callback, I was like, "How authentic do we want to be in this iteration?" And they were like, "We just want it to be what it was in the '90s, essentially." And as we move on, we'll sort of stray from that as you settle in and as people settle into my version of it. But I'm always trying to bring uh, phrases and words and incorporating things into the lines. I mean, I know for like Marvel Rivals, I'm going to probably butcher this because I'm doing this off memory. There was a thing where Gambit's addressing Rocket Raccoon, and I think the word for raccoon was like "shawi" or something. And I was like, "Well, can I use that?" And I always bring verbal reference with me to get as close as I can. The one thing I was adamant about is like Cajun isn't French, and a lot of people tend to
Yeah.
write Gambit just straight up French, and I'm like, no, there's a huge difference. There are French isms, but it's like I come from New Jersey where they speak a lot of pidgin Italian. So those like words that if you said them in Italy, they'd be like, what? But they're these sort of like shortened, bastardized versions of Italian dialect. And Cajun has a similar vibe where there's genuine French and then other things that are brought up through, the local history and the local. I think there's also, I might be butchering this, but there's influences from, I want to say, Haitian culture, and there's just so much going on. It's such a big soup or gumbo of different cultures that it's not just people who just write French phrases into Gambit's dialogue. It's like, no, 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 you're missing the sort of spice of what makes Gambit work. But I'm just doing the best I can to bring as much authenticity and as much research as I can into. I have like a Cajun dictionary, and I have an app on my phone, and I listen to a bunch of Cajun podcasts, and it's very bizarre, but like just trying to immerse myself in it as much as possible. Yeah, is the best I could do.
Yeah, I was my girlfriend and I play Marvel Rivals religiously, and we've got Gambit and Rogue so leveled up, it's ridiculous. And I forgot to show everybody my sorry, I do have my Gambit t-shirt on today for this interview.
I had that
In
exact shirt in college,
Oh
and
really?
I lost it somewhere. I don't know what happened, but I remember getting it at I want to say like Virgin Megastore or something, and I was like,
Oh
"What?
yeah,
They have
yes,
a Gambit shirt like that?" Where there was a time where getting a Gambit shirt or a Gambit anything was like, "Oh
super
my god,
rare.
yeah!" Like, do you know who this guy is? Like, it was a
Yeah.
big deal.
Yeah, so you were mentioning the French. We were playing, and I think he calls Namor. I think you said in one of the lines "le petit pois," which I took some French in college. Of course, it's been eons, and I don't use it anymore. But it's little fish,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
it's that type of stuff. I really, really, you did a
Think
great
that's
job,
one of the
man.
Thank you. I think that's specifically the one of the ones that I did a lot of ad-libbing for Rivals because Michael, who directs it, has become a friend, and we sort of joke around, and I don't know the lines beforehand, but I'll recall my high school French, and then also I'll be like, wait, there's got to be a word in Cajun for raccoon, or there's got to be some, so yeah, le petit poisson, or whatever I said, or le poisson.
That's it.
And I
No,
was
that's
like,
it.
hold on, I've seen The Little Mermaid. I know what fish is. That one was definitely an ad lib, and also how you pronounce. Because I was like, how would a Cajun person pronounce Namor? Because we say Namor, but it'll be like Namor, like Amor. Like so there's always a wait, pause. How would you decipher this through
Oh, for
a
sure.
yeah? And it's also, I mean, the thing that's tough is Gambit is a Marvel Comics idealized version of what a sort of American palatable, like standard American palatable Cajun accent is. Like if you listen to someone who's authentically Cajun, totally different thing. So it's this weird thing of sort of trying to balance between people's expectations from the 90s. And then if you're, from Louisiana and you hear this all the time, trying to be like, okay, yeah, that works. you
There you
know,
go. There you go. All right. So, do you remember the exact moment you found out that you got the role of Gambit or Remy LeBeau? And where were you? How did it feel knowing you were about to inherit the mantle of your childhood hero?
wow, you know what? I don't remember. No one's asked me that before. I don't think I remember. I was probably just in my apartment. Yeah, I think I was just in my apartment and screamed, if I remember correctly. I remember sort of the general energy of it, of being like, oh my God, what do I do? But I don't remember the where specifically I was. I probably left my body and like ascended. Um, but the sad truth of like anytime you book something is you're always like, oh my God, amazing. Oh, they're gonna recast me, aren't they? Like there's this immediate feeling of like, there's no way that this is true. They're gonna get a celebrity, they're gonna get someone to replace me. So I was elated, and then also the anxiety of going, oh no, like I have to replace the original guy and because good. So it's like you get a second of like, oh my God, and then immediate anxiety, throw up, fear.
Did
But I don't,
did
yeah,
Chris give you any pointers or tips or anything,
no,
or was he just like, do it, man?
no. We didn't meet until after the premiere, and he was just kind of like, hey, nice to meet you, and that was kind of the extent of our conversation. That was about it. I'm not sure he was. Again, I don't think he was thrilled to meet me. I know Gambit means a lot to him, so I think our first meeting, he was kind of just like, "Oh, here's that guy." So I don't know. I don't know whether he was super thrilled, but he was very generous with me and very kind. But I think our initial meeting, he was a little like, "Harumph, who's this? Who's this guy?" But he wound up. I think after we spoke for a little bit, he was very sweet. He's like, "They couldn't have chosen a nicer guy," and I was
Oh,
like, "Oh, thank you." But I think
there
the
you go.
initial thing is I ran up so the funny thing is I was at the bottom of some stairs going up to where the premiere party was, and he was leaving because it was like an after party. And I ran up to him like an idiot, being like, "Chris, I'm a big fan. I'm the new voice of Gambit." And I think it took him a second to process. So it was awkward, but
I
ultimately he
love
wound
it.
up being very gracious.
Oh, that's great. So Remy is pure New Orleans, NOLA. Have you spent any time in New Orleans, soaking up the culture at all since taking this role, or did you just go off research and?
I went, so it's funny, in high school, when I graduated, my dad was like, "You graduated, like, where do you want to go? Like, you can go anywhere in the world. And I was like, I want to go to New Orleans. And because I just was fascinated by I mean, for some reason, the food was something that anytime I'd come across Cajun food, I was obsessed with jambalaya and gumbo. And it's not something you encounter a lot in New Jersey, but New York sometimes. And I don't know. I had a weird preoccupation or fascination, I think, specifically because of Gambit. And also, I was very into blues music in high school. And so there was just something about, I mean, New Orleans is kind of the center of, Zydeco and blues music and jazz. And so I was like, I want to go there. So we went to New Orleans just to kind of eat and see cemeteries. And at the time, I was really big into playing harmonica. So I would just go up to street musicians and, this like 17-year-old kid and be like, hey, can I play with you guys? If I felt like the vibe was okay and I wasn't interrupting them. And there was this band, these two guys I was obsessed with named Sonny B and Grandpa, who were street musicians. And my dad went to New Orleans and got one of their CDs. And I got to play with them and I was very excited. But it was this weird feeling of like, New Orleans for me was like this convergence of all the things I loved. It was haunted stuff, where Gambit came from, blues music. There was yeah, I was. And then unfortunately, when we got back, people kept going people kept coming up to me and being like, New Orleans. And I was like, yeah, New Orleans. Like, I didn't really understand what was going on when people would be like, oh man, did you hear about New Orleans? I was like, yeah, it's great. And I didn't realize we had left like the week before Katrina. So it was this weird, it didn't happen. I called my dad. I was like, hey, did you have an awkward interaction with someone where they started talking about New Orleans and you were like, it's great? And then they were like, no, it's been wiped out by a hurricane. And it was like this weird, it was literally like within a week or so. We were watching the news like, oh my God. But anyway, yeah, I absolutely loved it. I haven't been back since, but I'm hoping to for a convention or something.
We were going to pick up my girlfriend's things from San Antonio. And we had to go through on the way back. And there's an entire Six Flags park abandoned in New Orleans. It's been abandoned since 2005. It's I mean, if you're into abandonment and stuff, check it out. They filmed some movies there. Okay, so if Gambit were describing the perfect plate of crawfish etouffee, here we go, or a box of Zatarans, how would he pitch it to the rest of the X-Men?
Oh man. I should have read all the questions beforehand, so I had something prepared. Zatarans, like the boxed rice.
Yeah, man. Yep, totally. Some crawfish etouffee, or Gambit's just gonna run down to the Kroger's and grab him a thing of Zatarans.
Okay.
In other words, some direction. Does the X-Men want Gambit to make something fresh or something just to toss in the microwave?
Oh man, I don't know if the rest of I could see maybe Wolverine, but maybe Gambit make dinner tonight. Gene, you take a break. Gambit like his home cooking much better. I don't know if I make box Zatarang, but I'll go grab something from the local market, get it fresh, and I'll cook you up something real nice. How about that, Shia?
Dude, that's perfect. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, 100%. What is the one phrase you find yourself accidentally saying in the Cajun accent when you're not recording voices?
Share. Yeah, I say share a lot to my partner. It's just something that comes out now where I'll be like, oh God, what's the thing we say? Sometimes we'll just be like, ooh, I smell bad, share. Because for some reason, I mean, you're in LA, so you smell a lot of bad things. And so we'll say it to each other. We'll go, ooh, that smell bad, share. Which is not something that Gambit ever says, but for some reason that's become a thing where we'll go, ooh, share. And that usually means something is smelly or off in our environment. I don't know how that became a thing, but it has.
I love it. So in episode 5 of season 1, the episode is titled "Remember It." Completely shook the fandom when everyone saw.
Me too.
Now, spoiler, folks, if you haven't seen season 1 of X-Men, fast forward past this part. When you first read the script, did you realize how heavy that narrative emotional peak was going to be, and that Gambit was going to end up sacrificing himself?
The sad series of events is I got the welcome to the X-Men. You're part of the X-Men, but then, hey, can we get on a phone call like 2 days later? And I was like, sure. And I was like, oh God. And they were like, don't worry, you're not fired. But just so you're emotionally prepared, the first one we're telling nobody else knows is Gambit's gonna die at episode 5. And I was like, what? Like it blew my mind. I had no idea. And I was like, what do you mean? At the time, I remember making the joke. I was like, can't you kill Morph again? But they were like, listen, it'll be good. It's, it's going to be a big moment. And I was like, okay, sure. So like I had to like go through like a genuine mourning process. It's like going from being like, wow, this is my dream role to, but not so fast. We're killing him off after a couple episodes was like, it gave me whiplash. So I mean, it wasn't until I finally got to read the script where I was like, okay, that's badass. Like, but that was months. Because I basically went in, recorded my audition, didn't hear anything back for, in my recollection, many, many months. And then I found out, and this is both a brag, it's a brag, but it's also like at the time it wasn't a brag. I was just nervous as I didn't hear, I heard my co-stars were getting called in to record and I didn't know what was going on. I was like, oh no, am I being recast? And apparently they just used all my stuff from the audition, which was really cool. And I was like, oh, I guess I did okay. That's awesome. But I was just like, why am I not getting called in? And I guess because they were rewriting things or figuring out different character traits and stuff. But for whatever reason, I was very lucky that they just supposedly used my audition audio. I mean, we went in and redid stuff once it was fully animated. But I was like, oh no. So I didn't hear anything back for like, I guess I probably didn't read that episode till like 6 months later.
Oh, wow.
It was a slow production. I think X-Men might be one of the slowest. Season 1 was one of the slowest productions as far as like script to script recording sessions go. Cause usually it's like, it's every other week you're going in and recording something for like Gremlins or, the Croods or any of the shows I've been, or Voltron. It's like every other week we'd be going in to record. For X-Men, it was literally like every 2 or 3 months.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so it was really, really slow, but I was very upset. And I didn't know, they didn't tell me like, what was going to happen in the future. And I thought that was just it. So I was, I wasn't sure if there was even a chance of getting to come back, even in a flashback or anything. So yeah.
So you mentioned that doing the ADR, and for people that don't know what that means, that's an acronym for automated dialogue replacement. For Gambit's final lines in season 1 was emotionally challenging. What was it like as an actor to have to step back in a booth and, like you just said, you had to go through a mourning process and relive that character's most darkest, intense moments after originally recording them?
It was weird. I mean, I remember pretty vividly they were showing the animation of him being dragged on the tentacle of the Sentinel. And I watched it and I kept like cursing in the booth, like, oh my God, like, I can't believe how brutal this is. This is going from watching the 90s series where it's, there's no blood, it's very clean. To this, I was like, oh, he's skewered. And then basically they were just like, all right, so we got to add all his grunts. And so watching that scene over and over and over again, we're just like, ugh, ugh, it's just, ugh,
Oh, yeah.
getting stabbed over and over and over again was weird, but also slightly cathartic because I could see that it was like, oh, this is cool. Like this is a really, really, really cool death. And the one thing I was excited by is when we first did the name is Gambit, mon ami, remember it. It was shouted. And I remember at the time going, this doesn't feel right. And they were like, yeah, we'll come back to it. So we tried it at different levels, but I remember being like uncomfortable by the fact that like that line never sat right. Like I remember thinking it was weird. And then once we got closer to final animation, and because I don't think it was fully animated, they let me do it slow and they let me do it with like the way you now see it. And we all went, yeah, that's it.
Oh,
Because
for
in the
sure.
beginning, we didn't know how big the Sentinel was. We didn't know what was going on. So yeah, it was, it came
Yeah,
out
dude,
good.
no, it did. Fans are losing their minds now, and I'm not going to go too hard on season 2 because we recorded this interview. It hasn't officially ended. Season
Yes.
2 has revealed Gambit's resurrection as the
Allegedly.
Apocalypse's.
Allegedly.
Oh, sorry. Let me go ahead and pencil that in there. Alleged
Yeah.
resurrection of Apocalypse's Horsemen of Death. Now, if you're not a comic book reader, which most of us, some of us might not be, You might be going into this fresh. So, how does the adventure change? Now, if you can't answer this, don't just be like, can't do it. How
Yeah,
does
I
the
probably
adventure
can't.
change for you vocally when transitioning from a smooth talking hero to, well, to a corrupted villain? And you can just plead the fifth on that one if you can't.
Yeah, I have to. I don't know if any
Perfect.
what happens. Yeah, it's the only thing I got to do allegedly was maybe a scream with Apocalypse. Not sure, assuming that was
Okay.
me. But
We'll
I,
watch the episode on Wednesday
yeah,
to get the answer to that. So you and Lenore Zahn, and that's the voice actress who plays Rogue, and she is such a sweetheart. I follow her on Instagram.
she's awesome.
Um,
Yeah.
she was she's Rogue's voice. Y'all have incredible chemistry on screen. I don't know if you're in the same booths, probably not, but how did you two build that deep tragic connection in the studio? And what was she how has she been as a creative partner?
I mean, she's great. It's weird as I say this all the time, as Lenore feels like someone I've known a very long time, and I mean, there's only so much. Like when you meet a celebrity, you're like, "Oh, I know you, but you don't know me," and it's different because Lenore, it's like it's her voice that I knew, but like not her the person, but her the person feels like someone I've known for a very very long time. So we're very comfortable and around each other, and but as far as like, I think we only did one session in season one where we were actually together, especially since it was kind of still COVID-y. We were kind of still figuring that out. And but yeah, I mean it immediately, I think we both also understand our characters very well, where we're like, I'm a big nut for Gambit, and she knows she's been Rogue. She started Rogue. But as far as the chemistry goes, I think we both just kind of understood the assignment. It's like
For sure.
Gambit's always trying to get with Rogue, and Rogue is like, yes, but I have these powers that'll kill us, and or kill you. And she's going through all her own emotional turmoil with the whole Magneto thing. Not that I want to talk about that. Um, but as far as our chemistry goes, I mean, I don't know. We kind of just get along and make jokes and stuff in real life, so it's very easy to do stuff with her. She's
For
very
sure.
effortless for me to act with.
Yeah. So I noticed your Timothy Dalton t-shirt there. Is that the
Yes, that's
so
the
we're
Rocketeer
gonna
credit. Yeah.
so we're gonna shift gears here because behind me I'm gonna try and put my light on over there. I've got a Rocketeer costume and I run a Rocketeer fan page myself and you are a fan of the movie. So let's talk a little bit about that and have some fun here.
Yes, that's how I
Um
discovered you. Was
yes,
yeah, it was your
Rocketeer
Rocketeer
stuff.
stuff.
Yeah, so if you haven't, guys, I've interviewed Billy Campbell twice on my YouTube. Please check out that interview. He's such a great guy. So, I want to pivot to another iconic jacket-wearing hero. I know you have a deep love for the Rocketeer, as per your
Yes.
T-shirt. What originally brought you to love Cliff Secord in that retro-futuristic world and movie that Dave Stevens gave us?
I mean, I think it was just it hit at the exact right time. I was born in 87, so like around the time, I mean 91 when Rocketeer came out, it was just like, "Oh, what is that?" I'm obsessed. Like it was I feel like the way other people feel about Boba Fett, where they saw it and went, "I need that. I love that." Like that was me with Rocketeer. I mean, I know the Joe Johnston connection is crazy, but like the design lit up my brain as a kid who had already been into Indiana Jones and sort of pulp adventure, Rocketeer. And plus, he kind of was like kid like to me at the time. He had the hair that was parted and he was scrappy. And there was just something about his energy and that look and the vibe of the movie that just like knocked me on my ass. I was like, this is perfect. And then the what's it called, the Pizza Hut like tie-in and like the whole culture behind it. It's funny because I actually never owned it on VHS. Like I don't know why my parents never bought it. I would just see it on TV, and like I didn't own any toys. I was just like, other than the Rocketeer cups, I was just fascinated by it. I had like the Disney Adventure magazine, and like that was kind of all I had. But yeah, I mean, it was just one of those things where as a kid you go, "Oh my god!" Like it's love at first sight. Where you go, I want everything having to do with this.
Oh, for sure. And I think all I had was a little rubber action figure that my parents got for me at MGM Studios because we're about the same age, and that's where I remember seeing it for the first time. So you've also voiced, you are a massive nerd for things you love. So let's talk about your personal stash. And I see behind you, let's get into the Gambit
I do have a
collectibles.
couple. It's funny. I have so this sound thing doesn't hold too much. So at some
Okay.
point I'd like to put a bunch of toys on there. So I tried to pin my Gambit, and then this is Maroc from Mall. I actually So it's funny. I was like, let me go to my closet. I have got my original Gambit figure that I never
Yes.
opened. I was like 11 when I got this because I never had the original. And then
Yes.
in a fit of insanity, I bought a fruit snack box that I need to frame
I
because I
love
was
it.
just like, this is the coolest design ever. Um,
Yes.
I love ephemera. I love things that are not meant to exist for more than like a couple weeks. So I have this like weird fascination with things that shouldn't stick around. Like
Here, let
especially
me show
with
you.
yeah,
Check this out. So I had to go to my shed also. Now this is
amazing.
Age of Apocalypse, Gambit and Rogue,
Yes.
and I think we got this at my girlfriend's because she'll cosplay Rogue and I'll cosplay Gambit, and I think we got it at a local comic book shop, and it comes with a little pin, and it's called Marvel's Famous Couples.
I remember seeing that at KB Toys as a kid, but not understanding why his outfit was different. Like I
Right?
didn't know the Apocalypse storyline. I was like, that's not Gambit's outfit. So like when I was like 6, I was like, what is that? I was super confused.
Yeah, and then this. Now I've got a couple of things here. I'll bring them all over at once, so I'll have to keep getting up.
I
We've
have a whole
got
box of stuff, so please, by all
Yes, let's
means,
do it.
yes.
Let's nerd out. So I've got this
Oh my God, yes.
the Lenorzon original Rogue, and this is my girlfriend's, and it comes with like these. I don't know if you remember in the '90s when they had like these ridiculously huge guns.
Yeah, everyone the Wolverine figure, which I have over here, also comes with a gun, which is like, why?
Why
Why
would
does
Logan have a
Wolverine, if
gun?
anyone doesn't need a gun, it's Wolverine. It's just this ridiculous, like it looks like an old Bolex camera or something.
Yeah.
Like yeah, it's so bizarre.
And here's my Gambit. Now, this is one, his jacket, dude,
Oh
his
my
jacket is
God.
like it's so because I mean this was mine when I was a kid. His
Yeah,
jacket is like disintegrating. So yeah. And then I've
that
got
vinyl stuff just turns to basically
and of
like,
course I've got like the thing you just showed. He's not in the
yep,
box anymore. And
with
then
the
there's
weird fruit
this
roll
one.
up jacket.
Yes.
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
there's
yeah.
this one. And
That was
his
awesome.
face, dude, his face is like grimacing so bad. Like the drawing is really awesome, but then you like open it and you're like, what in the world is wrong with his face?
Yeah, dude, it's
I'll send you some pictures, but
I'm trying. I have
yeah.
my Mondo Gambit that I was given from the folks over at Mondo, which is super cool.
Oh,
I'm waiting for
dude.
them to do the new version. I want a '97 version. And man, I
And
just
then
have
I've got a
so much stuff. Please.
one of these Loungefly backpacks here. They
Oh,
have a Gambit
amazing!
one. Yeah, and my girlfriend's got the matching Rogue one. And then if you
I've
unzip
signed
the
quite a few of those. They're great.
yeah, you got cards on the inside of it too, is the pattern. So it's like, I mean, there's not a whole lot of Gambit stuff out there though, AJ. There's really not. You have now,
There's
hopefully with y'all doing the show, it's going to change. But
there's a decent amount of like now they've got like belt or like bag clips and there's so many weird. I'm trying to look through this box like there's a bunch of cards and like the collectible like tops cards and stuff. I've got a bunch of those.
oh, I love it. I
Um,
love it.
but yeah, they came out with was it Upper Deck? Came out with a bunch of cards that were all I have like a million here. Here I'll just show the Jubilee, but they came out with like this limited set from like
Oh, I
Comic
love
Con.
it. I love it.
That's super cool. But yeah, I have so much X-Men stuff now that people have given me, which is amazing that I don't have. Oh, actually, my Gambit that I forgot that I keep next to me.
Oh, I love
Um,
it.
it's so
I love
cool.
it.
I would love to have I have the basketball one that's in my little glass case over here where he's shirtless. But the thing I want, the like holy grail for me is I want them to make or I want Hasbro to make a crop top Gambit. Like that's my favorite design.
So
So
we'll make sure to post when I post this. I'm going to make some short form stuff too. We're going to tag Hasbro AJ, and we're going to make this happen.
we need that. I got the Funko Pop. I'm very excited about that, but I'm like, I want an action figure where it's him in the crop top. I just think that's
We
so
need the crop top, the
yeah.
basketball shooting Gambit for sure. So let's wrap this up in a fun way. I've got a little, and if you don't mind to humor me here,
Yeah,
I'd love
please.
to hear in your Gambit voice a couple of quick fire prompts here, or games we can do. So let's hear you say, "Don't worry, your pretty little head share. The name is Gambit, and I always play with a full deck."
Oh man. Don't you worry your pretty little head, Cher. The name is Gambit, and I always play with a full deck.
Oh, I love it. All right, now this is Foodie Gambit when he's getting mad at Jean here. You call this gumbo, mon ami? Ma tante Marie makes a roux that would make Magneto weep. I think I died.
Oh God, I gotta remember that. Okay, what was it? You call this gumbo?
We call this gumbo Mon Ami. My Tante Marie, I think that's Aunt Marie, makes
Yeah,
a roux that would
that would
make
make Magneto.
Magneto.
Okay, you call this gumbo, mon ami? My Tante Marie,
Aunt
my
Marie. I
Aunt
think that's
Marie
like.
makes a roux that would make Magneto weep. I won't pretend to know the different familial French iterations.
And a pop culture crossover here. Hey kid, you want to ride in the DeLorean? You got to pay the toll. Remy don't ride shotgun for free.
Oh God. Okay. Hey kid, you want to ride in the DeLorean? You got to pay the toll. Remy don't ride shotgun for free.
And finally, of course, the ultimate death line. Remember it, Cher. Even death can't keep a good Cajun down.
Remember it, Cher. Even death can't keep a good Cajun down.
And with
Allegedly.
that,
We'll see.
and with that, folks, we are going to end it there because I think we need a part two to continue these good times with AJ. And let's do it after the episode airs, so we
Sure.
can continue talking and do spoilers and what have you. Anyways, AJ, thanks for joining me.
Of
This
course.
has been Adventuring with Chris. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, and I will catch you guys on the next one.